Welcome to the Deep Dive. This deep dive is brought to you by Stonefly. They're a leader in enterprise storage, backup, and disaster recovery, AI storage, and cloud solutions.
That's right. And if you're looking for really secure, ransomware-proof storage,
Which everyone needs these days.
absolutely, where your data is kept safe, air-gapped, immutable, Stonefly offers exactly that. You can check them out, maybe schedule a demo, just contact sales at stonefly.com.
Great. So today, we're tackling something that feels like it should be simple, but really isn't. Knowing when the tech we rely on, software, hardware, even AI models now, is going to, well, expire, basically. When does support stop? When do the security updates dry up?
Yeah, it's surprisingly messy. The information about end of life, end of support, it's scattered everywhere.
And the language isn't consistent either, is it? One vendor calls it one thing, another calls it something else.
It's exactly. It makes tracking it a real chore and honestly a bit of a risk.
You mentioned risk. What are the sort of concrete dangers of this inconsistency?
Well, think about it. If you don't know a piece of software isn't getting security patches anymore, you're just leaving a vulnerability open on your network.
Right, like an unlocked door.
Precisely. And in complex systems, like big software supply chains or industrial control systems, one outdated part can compromise the whole thing. It's not just hypothetical. It's a serious security headache.
Okay, so it's a problem. Is anyone trying to, like, fix this, bring some order to the chaos? I've heard about something called OpenEoX.
Yes, OpenEoX, that's the initiative aiming to tackle this head-on. The core idea is pretty straightforward. Create a standard way for everyone who makes technology.
Everyone, like big companies and open source projects.
Exactly. Commercial vendors, open source maintainers, individuals. A standard way for them all to communicate when their products reach these critical end of support or end of life milestones.
So like a common language for tech life cycles.
That's a great way to put it. It's a framework aiming for standardization. And it's not just for software and hardware in the traditional sense.
Oh, well,
They're aiming for it to cover services, technical specifications, even AI models, which are becoming so important.
wow. Okay, that's ambitious.
It is. The main goals are transparency, making the info easy to find and understand, efficiency, smoothing out the process for vendors and users, and maybe most importantly, unification, getting everyone using the same terms, the same data structure for things like end of life, and crucially, end of security support.
Okay, let's unpack some of that. You mentioned unification of terms. What are the key definitions OpenEoX is trying to nail down?
Right, clarity is key. First, vendor. In OpenEoX terms, this isn't just, IBM or Microsoft. It's any entity. It could be a big company, it could be a community project like Apache, could even be one person maintaining a library, basically, whoever creates or maintains the product.
That broad definition feels important, especially with so much open source out there. And product. Is that just software?
Nope. Also defined very broadly. A product is pretty much any deliverable that has a name and goes through a life cycle. So software, yes, but also hardware devices, specifications, services, anything identifiable that people rely on over time.
Got it. So vendor creates a product. What about the product lifecycle itself?
That's the whole journey, really. From the moment it's first released, that's usually called general availability or GA.
When you can actually get it.
Exactly. All the way through its active life, different support phases, maybe, until it finally reaches its end of life. And it's important to remember this isn't always simple. Support levels can change. There might be different versions on different tracks. It can get complicated.
Okay. Now, I often see end of sales, or EOS mentioned. Where does that fit in? Is that the same as end of life?
Good question. No, they're different. End of sales, EOS, is more of a commercial thing. It's the last day you can order that specific product version directly from the vendor.
So it's about buying it new.
Right. But crucially, hitting EOS doesn't automatically mean your existing product stops getting support or security updates. That depends on the vendor's actual lifecycle policy for support.
So you might not be able to buy it anymore, but if you already have it, you might still be okay for a while.
Potentially, yes. Interestingly, EOS isn't actually in the first version of the OpenEoX standard, the minimum viable product, but they've said it might be added later.
Okay, so EOS is sales. What about the security side? When do the patches stop? That seems like the really critical date.
It absolutely is, and that's end of security support, or EOSec. This is the date. It's the last day the vendor commits to providing fixes for security vulnerabilities for that product version.
Right. After that, you're on your own if a new flaw is found.
Exactly. Running something past its ESIC date is a major security risk. Any new vulnerability discovered probably won't get patched by the vendor. This date is like mission critical for security teams and anyone managing risk.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to miss that one. Okay, and then finally the big one, end of life, EOL, the end of the line.
That's it. EOL is the final day. The vendor provides no more support of any kind for that version. No development, no updates, no big fixes, no security patches, no technical help, nada.
So if something hits EOL, you'd better have a migration plan well underway.
You really should already be migrated, ideally. Using EOL software is just asking for trouble, both functionally and securely.
Okay, so we have these clearer definitions, EOSEC, EOL, etc. If companies and projects start using this OpenEoX framework, what are the payoffs? Why should, say, an IT department care?
Oh, the benefits for users and organizations are huge. First, reduced risk. Plain and simple. Knowing the EOSEC date lets you manage vulnerabilities proactively.
Instead of finding out after you've been breached.
Exactly. It also makes planning so much easier. Think about asset management, budgeting for upgrades, planning those migrations off old tech. It brings predictability.
And compliance, I imagine. Like regulations might require you to use supported software.
Absolutely. It helps ensure you're meeting compliance requirements. Plus, it just leads to smarter purchasing decisions. When you acquire new tech, you can factor in the real support lifespan.
Makes sense. What about the vendors? What's in it for them to adopt this? Is it just more work?
Well, there's effort involved, sure, but benefits too. Clearer communication means fewer confused customers calling support asking, is version X still supported?
Reducing support overhead.
Right. It can also streamline their own internal processes if they can integrate this standard lifecycle data into their own tools, their own reporting.
And for the industry as a whole, what's the bigger picture win?
More transparency overall. It just makes the whole ecosystem more predictable when it comes to product support. Imagine how much more efficient things could be if everyone spoke the same language about life cycles instead of the sort of fragmented approach we have now.
Okay, so it sounds helpful, but we already have things like SBOMs, software bills of materials, and security advisories like CSF or VEX. Is OpenEoX trying to replace those?
No, not at all. That's a really key point. It's designed to be complementary.
How so?
The idea is that the standardized EOL and EOSEC info from OpenEoX could be embedded within an SBOM or linked from a CS advisory.
Ah, so you look at your SBOM, you see all the components, and you see their end-of-support dates right there.
Exactly. It adds that crucial lifecycle context directly into the tools and workflows security and ops teams are already using. It makes the existing tools even more powerful.
So it fills a specific gap, providing standardized data that other formats can then consume.
Precisely. And OpenEoX offers flexibility. There's a core schema just for the lifecycle data, and also a standalone schema that includes product identification, so organizations can adopt it in ways that fit their existing systems without needing a total overhaul.
That flexibility sounds important for adoption, but getting any standard adopted widely needs buy-in. Who's actually behind OpenEoX? Is there momentum?
There really seems to be. You've got a pretty significant coalition of big tech players involved from early on. Companies like Cisco, Microsoft, Dell, IBM, Oracle, Red Hat.
Wow, those are heavy hitters.
Yeah, their involvement really signals that the industry recognizes this is a problem worth solving together.
Have they said much publicly about why they think it's needed?
Yeah, Omar Santos from Cisco, he's one of the co-chairs of the technical committee working on this at OASIS.
OASIS, the standards body.
Right. He basically said, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, that knowing when your software support ends shouldn't be a guessing game. He really stressed the need for collaboration across the board, big vendors, open source, everyone to make this work.
And can others get involved? If a company or even an interested individual wants to contribute.
Yes, the process is open. Participation in the OpenEoX Technical Committee happens through OASIS membership, and they're definitely looking for public feedback. The standard itself was actually published fairly recently, April 24th, 2025, so it's out there now.
It feels like this fits into a larger trend around needing better product lifecycle management or PLM. Are there sort of established principles here?
Oh, definitely. Standards bodies like NIST have been talking about this for years. NIST publications emphasize how critical standards are for PLM, meeting both syntactic interoperability, like
Hmm.
did I format, and semantic interoperability, everyone agreeing on what the data means. OpenEoX fits right into that.
So it's providing that semantic and syntactic piece for the end of support part of the lifecycle.
Exactly. And in today's world, with things like Industry 4.0, complex connected systems, managing the full lifecycle efficiently is critical. Data-driven decisions are key.
Right. You need good data to manage complexity.
And knowing when a component becomes obsolete or unsupported is fundamental data. OpenEOX provides that foundation. It helps give organizations better visibility into their IT estate and reduces those risks from running old, unsupported tech.
It really does sound like a much-needed piece of the puzzle. Trying to manage technology without knowing its actual support lifespan is, well, flying blind, really.
Pretty much. OpenEOX aims to turn the lights on, provide that clarity and consistency that's been missing.
It could genuinely make things more secure and efficient for, well, basically everyone who uses technology.
That's the hope. A more transparent, predictable, and ultimately trustworthy tech environment.
Well, this has been incredibly informative. It clarifies not just what OpenEOX is, but why it's so important in today's tech landscape.
It's one of those background, slightly technical things that actually has really significant practical consequences for security and operations.
Absolutely. So for you listening, maybe take a moment to think about the tech you depend on every day. Your work systems, your phone, your home network gear. Do you actually know when support ends for them? How would having that information clearly and easily change how you manage things, how you plan for the future?
It's definitely food for thought.
It really is. And once again, this deep dive was brought to you by Stonefly. They're experts in enterprise storage, backup, DR, AI storage, cloud solutions, the whole package.
And remember, if you need that rock-solid, ransomware-proof, storage air-gapped, immutable Stonefly is the place to look.
You can reach out to them for a demo at sales@stonefly.com. Okay, to wrap up, here's a final thought to leave you with. Imagine if we could understand the health and the remaining useful life of our digital systems, our software, our infrastructure, with the same kind of clarity we expect for, say, a physical building or a piece of machinery. How would that level of predictability change how we approach technology strategy, risk, and investment? Something to think about. Until our next deep dive.